back to Wildwoods Cottage and welcome back to Wales. It's lovely to have you here. It's a beautiful day here today. The sun's out, as you can see behind me, and everything feels really nice. We had a lovely mist this morning. The sun was out, it was full sunshine, blue sky, but there was just a mist resting over everything, over all the grass and out into the distance. But you could see that there was blue sky and sunshine behind it. It was lovely. I was awake at 5 to 7 this morning, so it didn't lift until about 8:30, I think. But yeah, it's left a lovely day. There's a lovely dew on the grass. So we had quite a cool night last night, and it's feeling autumn today. But it's nice to have the warm sunshine back again. It makes a nice change. I had a bit of faux pas last night. I was putting some plants in the garden, and I was up here just behind me here next to the tin shed, and I was popping a magnolia tree in. I've got a few magnolia trees I want to put in, and I moved a piece of wood and didn't realise there was a wasp's nest underneath the piece of wood. Got chased back in the house by the wasps, didn't I? They chased me all down the garden to the back door. But yeah, there was a mouse last night as well, and he decided he wanted to pinch one of the apples off the apple tree, and he was trying to drag it out of the grid and drag it up into the woodshed. Quite comical. It was really, really comical, but he kept having to eat the apple because he couldn't lift it. It was too heavy. So every time he tried to take it up the little slope of the grid, he dropped it. And then he had to sit in the grid and eat the apple. And in the end, you know what, I think he had too much apple and he just left the apple in the grid. But I got up this morning and the apple had gone, so he must have decided to come back for it. But pesky little blighter's been pinching my apples. I wondered where they were going. Here he is, look. You see it? Look, he's trying to take it in his house. Look at him. Here he comes, look. Yeah, the wildlife around here likes to have its own way, and I can't control it as much as I try. I can't control it, so I think I'm just going to have to live with it. Because I've put mouse scarers in the kitchen, those ultrasonic things that are supposed to send out signals to the mice not to come. They're still coming, they're still living in the shed under the sink, in the cupboard under the sink. But yeah, I can't get rid of them. I could trap them, but I don't want to kill things. It's not nice. I think if they became a problem, I was overrun by them, then I would have to kill them. I do live trap them, so now I've taken the live trap back off the stoves, which is coming in another video. Yeah, I've got a tale to tell with the stoves, but that's coming in the next video. But yeah, so it's a lovely day here. I'm making cake today, and yeah, whatever else I find to do in the kitchen, so we'll be doing that in this video. I've got some fermentation books that I want to have a look through. I've got this one, which also covers wine, and I want to make some white currant wine, because I've got loads in the freezer from the last few years. And even though I didn't get any white currants this year off my bushes, because the birds stripped the lot, the blackbirds were going in and out and they stripped the lot. But now I've cut the hedge, I'll be able to see where all the holes are, where the blackbirds were getting in, so hopefully fill them up for next year. But yeah, this one's fermentation and home brewing, so I'm going to have a look at that one. And I have used this one as well. This is fermentation, just fermentation. And I've made kimchi with this one and sauerkraut. So I'll do the sauerkraut recipe at some point because that is really, really nice. I need to make some more for the winter. Got some in the fridge. The longer you leave it, the nicer it seems to get as well. The softer it gets and the more flavour you seem to get from it. So I'll do a recipe for that at some point for you, but I'm going to have a look through these because I've got some pickling cucumbers there and I don't want to pickle them in vinegar. I want to see if I can ferment them and use them through the winter as ferments. So that's my plan for today. And yeah, just generally potter about in the sun. I think it's such a lovely day. It's one of those days I think where I don't think it's going to be too strong, the sun, even though it's quite bright at the moment. It's not hot, but I've had to put the umbrella up because I couldn't see the camera. So yeah, I'm going to have a look through this, and if I find a cucumber recipe I'll show you it, and we'll just go and get on in the garden. So I'm just going to finish my breakfast. I've just had pancakes for my breakfast, healthy pancakes, and yeah, I'm just going to have my tea and then I'm going to go and get on in the garden. Okay, so I'm back in the kitchen and I've come out to make a fruitcake for tea. And you've probably seen this book before, Eating for Victory. I do like using this book because you don't need a lot of ingredients. It doesn't contain a lot of sugar and it actually tastes very nice. So the one I'm going to make today is the bun loaf. I haven't made it before and I thought it was worth a try. So there's only 2 ounces of sugar in it, but I'm going to put 1 ounce of sugar in it because I'm going to do mine, instead of just adding water or milk, I'm going to make it with a rooibos tea. Using what you've got in the cupboard, as they say, and make do amend. And it's this one. I don't know whether I've got, oh yes I have. It's £2.50 in my health shop. I don't drink a lot of it, but it's organic vanilla rooibos tea. So we're going to try that in it instead, just to add a bit of flavour, because I'm not going to be putting a lot of sugar in it. So all I'm going to put in, this one from Tesco's, organic self-raising flour, some sultanas that need using because the date's gone past, and they're not in rapeseed oil, they're in cottonseed oil. I've got some baking powder. It does ask for mixed spice, but I haven't got any, so I'm using cinnamon instead. There's my tea soaking in water. It asks for a tablespoon of vinegar, so I'm going to use apple cider vinegar. And I've got some fair trade light soft brown sugar. I'm just going to put 1 ounce of that in. So, oh, and butter as well. It's asked for butter or fat, but I'm using butter because I don't like the mixed fats or margarines because they have rapeseed oil in them. So I'm using butter. It needs to cook for 3/4 of an hour, 45 minutes in a moderate oven. So I'm going to put it on probably about 180 and see how we get on with that. And then the heat of the oven after that is then going to be used to do some potato wedges to go with 2 pies. So that's what we're going to have for the rest of the day for our tea. So I'll take you down, show you me making the cake, and pop it in the oven and put a picture in at the end and you can see how it turned out. In true Gordon style, I've got one of his old mixing bowls for mixing cakes. I've got my scales so I can weigh everything as I go along. So let's switch that on. Right, the first ingredient is flour, and it says ½ pound of plain flour. So what's ½ pound? Let's go for that for ½ pound. Right, clear it for the next thing you put me in, and it says 2 ounces of sugar. Two ounces of butter. That's 2 ounces of butter. Then it says to use your hands to mix it in. So it's a bit like making crumble. And mix well, it says. So get one of our spoons. Now I always think fruit cakes need more fruit, but I'm going to keep in with the wartime theme and just use what it says in the recipe. So there's a tablespoon of vinegar added to your water. So I'll take the tea bag out. It's a tablespoon of vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar, again for flavour. And because it's what I've got, mix that in. And then it says mix in well. So that's what we'll do. I think we need a bit more water. I think I'll add a bit of milk. That to me looks a bit more cake-like. You're probably all screaming at me, you've done it wrong. It says to put it in a grease tin. I'm using greaseproof paper. Plonk that in there. Can't taste that tea in it though, it tastes nice. Make sure we don't waste any. So that's it, that's going to go in a moderate oven. I'm going to put it on about 180 and we'll see how it turns out, shall we? So I'll pop a picture in at the end and let you see how it turned out. If it turned out. So that's that in the oven. So the cake's finished cooking. It didn't rise like I thought it was going to, which is often the case with these wartime recipes when you try to substitute with normal ingredients. But maybe my tin was too big. But it's going to be nice, we can still have it sliced. Let's have a look inside. Still not cool yet. Oh, look at that. Lovely. So yeah, I'm going to put it back in the oven and let it finish cooking in the oven while it's cooling down, and have a slice with a cup of tea. So definitely recommend it. I'll put the recipe in the description bar for you, and let's go and get on with something else. I'm going to sort these strawberries out because there's lots and lots of runners on them. And there's lots of roots as well, so if you're looking for a frugal way of having strawberries, get yourself a couple of plants and then let them go to runners, and then before you know it you're going to have umpteen plants, you're going to have lots of plants. So that's what I'm going to do today. These little tendrils here are roots, so they're ready now to be put into pots. These ones don't have any roots, so these ones aren't going to be any good. This one's got a root. So yeah, we're going to have a little look through, see what we've got, because we've got all these runners on this side as well. And I've got lots growing in the lawn as well, so I might put these at the front of the border in the polytunnel and just leave them there, and then next year hopefully I'll get a good crop of strawberries. Right, so you want a decent pair of secateurs for this job. You want some compost. This is just compost from the potatoes and from my tubs in the patio on the yard, because I want to replace what's in the pots this year. So, and then I've just got some ordinary plant trays, some bigger one for some of the bigger ones, and this smaller one for the smaller ones. So, right, so what you want to do is you want to fill your tray with some soil. Take out any old roots if you don't know what they are. If you find any bulbs, take them out and just plonk them in your soil. Right. Okay. And then what you want is you want to have a look at your runners. Here you can see the root. So what you want to do is, if you look at your runners, you've got one with a root, this one, and then this one here doesn't have any root at all. So you want to take the one with the root, this one here, and you want to snip it next to the plant, like that. This piece here, you want to take that off, and there you have a nice new plant. So all you do then is take your compost, pop a little hole in and pop your plant in, and that is it. That's all you do. Now you've got yourself a free strawberry plant that next year will bear some strawberries, and will do so for 3 years, and then you just do the same thing again in 3 years time. So we'll do another one. There's another one with a root. We'll do that. Snip this one off because it's no good. Go in the compost. And there's another one. I'm just going to keep doing that with my strawberry plant, and we'll see how many plants we can get off for free to get new strawberry plants for next year. Right, so what you want to do next is you want to check, and just check there's no little roots appearing, because this one has some little nodules here, some little root. So I'm going to plant that and see if I can get a plant out of it. So do check your runners and see if you've got anything like that, and if you have, plant it and give it a try. There's another one here, just there. Does have little nodules on it. They will develop into roots. It's just there. We'll take them off. These are no good because they've got nothing on them at all. So they can go in the compost. But don't miss any, because there's another one with a little tiny hair root on it. So it's definitely worth going through to see what you've got. You see, that one's not going to do anything. I don't think you can ever have too many strawberry plants. They're no good. And left on the surface of the soil so that they attach roots in the soil. But I find that I can still get plants out of them, even if they've only got those small little bumps that are going to develop roots. So I'm going to take my chance with them and see what we can get. Right, I need some more compost to put these in, because I ran out of pots, sorry, so I need some new pots, so I'll go and get some. Finish them, and we'll go and get on with another job. These are what I've got so far. I've got 10 there, and then I've got these 4 big ones. I mean, when you buy them on the internet, you're going to pay about £10 or £12 for a few plants, something like 9 or 10 plants. So you're saving yourself a fortune. Good way of getting free plants, and it's a good way of getting free plants and not having to spend any money. So another frugal living tip for you. Right, so that was a job well done. I've got plenty of strawberries now. I've got about 30 strawberry plants just out of those 3 plants, so that's really good. So I'm really happy about that. Excuse my hair, I haven't brushed it yet. Just tied it up out the way. The next job I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and get some of the weeding debris off the garden, because I've been going round and I've been weeding all the borders, and I've got lots of bits and bobs to clear out of the way, so I want to do that next. and then I'm going to have a go of doing the wood storage. So I'm making my way through this book, and it's called Digging for Victory. I showed it in one of my videos a while ago. Excuse the noise, the planes are flying about again today. I think they're practicing. But it says potatoes, bugs and other things. So I'm just going to read it to you. It's talking about potatoes when they're coming up towards being ready for harvest. And it says, I wonder how many of you have sprayed your potatoes this year. I'm afraid we didn't get much suitable weather for the job after early July. We didn't get much suitable weather after early July, and a good many of the crops must have been missed. It's no use talking about it now, of course. I only mention it because I was looking over some allotments the other day and saw an excellent example of the good results of spraying. I wish you could have seen it. A plot which was sprayed twice was standing as green and as fresh as ever, while others round it, which hadn't been sprayed, almost looked as brown as if they had been given a dose of weed killer. I think many people regarded it as a natural process that potato foliage, this is the bit I want to get to, not the spraying, because I don't spray any of my plants. I grow everything organically, and I use organic fertilisers from the plants that I grow in my garden, but this is the bit I wanted to get to. And it says, I think many people regard it as a natural process that potato foliage should turn brown and die in September. But it shouldn't. It should still be green, at least the late varieties should, and would be if they were kept free from disease. And when you see a plot which is being kept clean, it is a very convincing proof of the value of spraying. Some of my allotment friends are now busy cutting off the foliage in the mistaken belief that it will prevent the disease from spreading to the tubers. But I'm afraid I'm not very hopeful about it. Handling the diseased foliage scatters thousands of spores all over the soil, and they soon find their way down below, especially when it rains. This year, cutting the foliage may have one advantage. The foliage everywhere is very heavy and keeps the soil wet underneath. So if it is out of the way, the sun can have a chance. If you take the foliage out of the way, the sun can have a chance to dry the ground a bit. In any case, the potatoes won't grow anymore without the tops. So my advice is to lift the entire crop as soon as possible, leave them out in the air to dry for a time, then under cover we shall be putting them under before start again. It says, if I lift the entire crop as soon as possible, leave them out in the air to dry for a time, and then dust them over with powdered lime before putting them under cover. We shall be dealing with that question of storing for winter in a later talk. Now, I always thought that when you get blight, which he's talking about here, he's talking about your potatoes getting blight. And I always thought that if your potatoes got blight, you cut the tops off and the potatoes underneath kept growing, because that's what I was told by an elderly gentleman on the allotment plot that I used to, next to mine, on the allotments when I had my allotment. And one of the first things he said to me, was, if you get blight, take the tops off and the tubers will carry on growing. Now, I've never found them to carry on growing personally. If anything, they rot. And all the vine weevils and things like that get into them. So, yeah, what he says in this book is actually true. I think the potatoes don't carry on growing. I think you end up with a bigger problem of maybe losing your whole crop because you haven't lifted them out of the ground and you've left them just to kind of do nothing really in the soil apart from get eaten from whatever comes past to eat them. And they've got no leaves to be able to absorb the nutrients out of the sun to carry on their growing underground, because they need the leaves to absorb the sun to grow underneath the soil. And if you cut all the leaves off, it makes perfect sense that you're just going to kill the plant. So yeah, that was just a thought. I just thought it was interesting. This is from the war. This is about digging for victory during the war. Wartime gardening with Mr. Middleton. As I say, I don't spray my crops. I don't use a sprayer. with tomright or anything like that. I use what I've got in the garden. I've got comfrey plants in the garden and I soak that in water. I've got nettles, quite an abundance of nettles, so I put them in water and use that. There's sheep poo, there's chicken poo. I used to use bindweed when I had the allotment, and you know, I wondered why I had bindweed everywhere, and it was because it went to seed in the water, and then I watered the garden and I just spread the seed all around the garden. So you don't want to use weeds. That's my motto. But you could use things like tomato leaves. You could put them in water and they will be a nice foliar feed for your tomato plants. So yeah, his advice about digging up the potatoes when the tops dry off is great. But yeah, use free fertilisers out of the garden. I mean, dandelions, if you took the seed heads off, you could use dandelion leaves as a foliar feed for your plants. You can use it on your flowers, you can use it on your fruit. So you don't need, really, the shops want you to think that you need to use their products, and that's how they make money. So if you just use what you've got in your garden already, if you take plant tops off and there's no seed heads on them, you could even put that in water and they will just absorb into the water and give you a nice foliar feed, so you get some nice green growth on your plants. So yeah, you don't need to go buying sprays, over-the-counter sprays. Save your money. Go out for a walk in the woodland and go and pick some nettles, and ask somebody on an allotment or locally if you can have a cutting off some comfrey, and you'll have plants for life, because they're perennial. If you get the Bocking 11 variety of comfrey, it doesn't spread all around your garden. It will spread if you dig it up and you leave roots behind. It will reroot itself and you will get new plants where you dug the plant up. But if you put it in its permanent place where you want it to be, you'll have comfrey for life, and it won't spread all round the garden. There is a variety that does spread, and it spreads quite prolifically, but if you buy the Bocking 11 one, it doesn't spread, and you can always take roots off if you do want to spread it around the garden and transplant it around. So I just thought that was a useful tip about the potatoes, that if you've got blight, which I did have blight on some of my tomato leaves and I've taken it off, but I think that was just simply because we had a month's worth of rain, and it was very heavy rain and it was all very wet and everything was very wet. But today it's lovely and sunny, and everything's drying out nicely. I've checked the potatoes in the garden, there's no blight on them, they're doing absolutely fine. I've been mulching them with the bedding from the chickens, so that's been fertilising the potatoes, so I'm hoping for a good crop there. And yeah, I just think that use what you've got already. Don't go out and buy expensive tomright and things like that. Use plants, nettles. Just go for a walk towards some wasteland or something. Nettles grow everywhere. Go to your local park if you haven't got a garden that has nettles in it, or an allotment site that has nettles, and just a bucket of water or a watering can, a bin with a lid on. Make sure you put a lid on it because you want to keep the smell at bay if you can. And then 2 weeks later, just dilute it into a watering can and put that on your garden, and you'll have some lovely flowers, some lovely plants, some lovely leaf and some great crops. So you could use it on things like spinach crops and broccoli and kale, things that produce leaves that you want to produce really good strong leaves. Use things like nettles that produce a good foliar feed, which produces foliage, hence I think the name foliar. That's my understanding of it. So yeah, if you do want to try, just give it a go. Get yourself a bucket, put a plate on the top. You don't even have to go and buy an expensive bucket. Use your watering can and put a saucer over the top, and then just use what's in the watering can and dilute it in another watering can, and you'll have some great foliar feed for your plants. So yeah, I want to get some buckets, bins sorted out so I can do a bin of feed, and I also do believe that if you put comfrey leaves in a bucket without any water and put a heavy weight on the top of it, all the sap that's in the leaves, you can get that out as like a liquid, and then you can put that in a bottle, and that will be a really, really concentrated comfrey liquid that you can then use on your plants. And you need to dilute that down quite a bit because it'll be quite strong, but it'll be brilliant for your garden and it'll cost you nothing. So yeah, just another frugal living hack for you for the garden to try and save you money, because tomato rice hasn't half gone up, tom rice hasn't half gone up in price. I was looking at it the other day, and the grow more and that, I don't think it's as good as what it used to be. But if you know someone who's got chickens, ask if you can have just a handful of chicken poo. If you've got a local farm near you, one of those farm visitor attractions, ask if you can have some of the sheep poo or the chicken poo. Put it in a bucket, and you'll get some nice free compost. Take yourself for a walk in the countryside and find a couple of pieces of sheep poo and stick that in a little bucket, and again you'll have some free plant food. So you can also store it in plastic bottles through the winter, and then you can start using it in the spring and give your plants a boost in the spring, and they will grow really happily. So if you continue to give them things that are natural, when you start giving things that are chemical, you're then introducing a chemical reliance for the plants to rely on these things that are chemical, whereas they just need natural. Plants don't need all these chemicals and things that they tell you that you need. Monsanto make an awful lot of money out of things like that, and slowly and surely they're buying up all the little seed companies, and they're all becoming one big massive corporation and one big company. So yeah, save your money and just do a few minutes work. Hose pipe, bucket, leaves, lid on the top, leave it for 2 weeks, and then when you go back you've got some great free plant food. So yeah, I think that's it. The polytunnel's doing well with my cucumbers. Picked these this morning. Loads in there. Need to find something to do with them to preserve them for the winter. Lovely. So I'm just having a break. The sun's really lovely today. It's really nice. So I thought I'd come and sit on my chair and have a break. It's the afternoon now. And I thought that I would just show you my crochet. I'm making a cardigan, a crop cardigan for the winter. And I'm making it from crochet squares that I was going to use to make a blanket. I've been showing it on my other channel, my Faithful You Knitting podcast channel, which is where I talk about all my knitting. And I just thought I'd let you have a look at it as well and see what you think. So I'll just turn you down. This is it. Lovely colours crochet squares. This is the front. It's got 2 panels on the front, and then I'm going to do a neckband up here and around the back, and then turn it over. This is the back. So it's just 6 squares on the back and 4 squares for the front. 6 squares on the back and 4 for the front, and I'm really pleased with how it's turning out. Just making it up as I go along, and I'm just using scrap wool that I've had for years. It's not cost me anything. Some of it I've had in stash for 20 odd years. Like this grey here, I bought this grey when I was working in the wool shop. So yeah, I've got the arms here. This is the grey that I'm using. It's just an acrylic school grey. It was a 400 gram cone, and yeah, it was a 400 gram cone, and I've got all that left. I've got tons left. So I've done another 6 squares, no, another 1, 2, 3, 8 squares I think. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, yeah, I've done another 8 squares, and that's going to be another 8 squares, and that's going to be for the sleeves, 4 on each one. And then I'm going to do a border all around the bottom, all around the base, of about 2 inches thick, and I may use some of the colours, the pink and the yellow and the blue, as a stripe along the bottom, and do the same for a cuff on the sleeves. I think that'll be really nice if I can find some colours that will match, because this was a ball of yarn that was variegated and that's just the way it's turned out. So I'm very pleased with it. Whether I'll wear it or not is a different matter, but yeah, I thought I'd just sit here and do 10 minutes and then go and get on with the rest of my jobs. So I'll see you back at the dianthus in a minute. Right, okay, so I think that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed my video and pottering about with me in the garden. I hope you've picked up quite a few tips for doing gardening with no money or on a budget, and that you can see how easy it is to get free plants, get free strawberry plants, and ways of making new feed for your plants without spending any money. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to go and get on with the rest of my day. I've got quite a bit to do, and I'll see you in the next video. So if you have enjoyed my video, please do like and subscribe. Please do hit that thumbs up button. It does help me to get my videos seen more on YouTube, and it doesn't cost you anything. And it really will help me out and help me grow my channel. I do have a Ko-fi account as well, and if you would like to buy me or the girls a coffee, then it's very much appreciated, as I do use it to go and upload videos sometimes at the coffee shop. So yeah, our Wi-Fi is very painfully slow, and oftentimes I have to give up on the home Wi-Fi and go to the coffee shop. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to go now. I'm going to go and get on with the rest of my day. I've got loads of strawberry runners I want to go and do around the garden so I can cut the grass, and I've got to go and sort the chickens out, so, and then I've got to go and sort the tea out. So yeah, I'm going to go and get on with the rest of my day, and I'll see you in the next video. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Bye bye.